In this lesson, we're going to explore malware exploitation techniques. Now, a malware exploitation technique is a specific method by which malware code penetrates and infects a targeted system. Historically, malware would modify an executable file or insert a malicious macro into a document file on a target storage device to ensure that every time the file was opened or run, that malware would be activated and ready to execute its malicious payload. Other types of malware, like worms, are instead going to focus on infecting the system's memory to leverage a remote procedure call over the organization's network to spread its malicious code across the entire enterprise. However, in modern enterprise networks, we're now seeing an evolution by malware that's created to utilize fileless malware techniques instead. This modern type of malware will also bypass detection from signature-based security systems like antivirus and anti-malware solutions by directly executing the malicious code as a script or as a small piece of shellcode. This fileless execution is going to be used to create a process in the system memory without relying on the local file system of that infected host. And this kind of fileless malware will also become harder to detect because it leaves behind very few traces or indicators of compromise in comparison to standard pieces of file-based malware. Now, some of these fileless malwares might temporarily write some data to a directory on your system, but they are designed to erase those artifacts after it finishes executing, so even these types are considered to be largely fileless due to the limited amount of evidence being left behind on the file system. So, how does this modern type of malware work? Well, in general, most modern malware will use a basic two-stage deployment model. When a user accidentally clicks on a malicious link or opens a malicious file, the specific type of malware being installed is known as a stage 1 dropper or a downloader. This piece of malware is usually going to be created as a lightweight shellcode that can be executed on a given system. Now, you may have noticed I just used 3 new terms that you may not be familiar with. So let me define those real quick. These are droppers, downloaders, and shellcodes. Now, a dropper is a specific malware type designed to initiate or run other malware forms within a payload on an infected host. Downloaders, on the other hand, retrieve additional tools post the initial infection that's facilitated by a dropper. Meanwhile, the shellcode is a broader term that encompasses lightweight code meant to execute an exploit on a given target. Now, the primary function of a stage 1 dropper or downloader is to retrieve additional portions of the malware code and trick the user into activating it. Once the stage 1 dropper or downloader is activated, it's going to then try to install a second stage downloader that will download and install a remote access Trojan to give the threat actor the ability to conduct command and control over the victimized system. Once this access is established using a stage 2 downloader, the threat actor can then focus on consolidating their position on the system by using remote access tools to identify and infect other systems across the network. As the attacker spreads their influence across the enterprise, they're looking to compromise high-value targets like servers or domain controllers to give them an even stronger foothold into your network. But even if these premium targets remain elusive to the threat actor, they're still going to try to compromise as many additional workstations as possible to continually expand their permissions and footprint across your network. Now, once they've established a stronghold, the threat actor will then transition into the action on objectives phase of their attack. During this phase, the threat actor will execute their primary objectives, whether that's data exfiltration, file encryption as part of a ransomware attack, or any other malicious activities that might help them meet their core objectives. Now, once stage 1 and stage 2 malware has been installed and utilized, the final step of their attack is to conduct concealment. Concealment is going to be used to help threat actors prolong their unauthorized access on your systems by hiding their tracks, erasing log files, and hiding any evidence of their malicious activities up to this point. Now, malware can be delivered to a system using many different techniques, including code injection, masquerading, DLL injection, DLL sideloading, and process hollowing to deploy the threat actor's malicious code into your system. For example, code injection is used to disguise the malicious code by running it with the identification of a legitimate process. These various malware deployment methods can also be combined with anti-forensic strategies like encryption, compression, and obfuscation to make it more challenging for cyber defense professionals to detect and analyze these malicious threats. Now, in some of the more modern incident responses that I've worked on, we've also seen a rise in a sophisticated strategy known as living off the land, and this has been adopted by numerous advanced persistent threats and criminal organizations in their attacks. In living off the land, the threat actors are actually going to try to exploit the standard system tools to conduct their malicious activities and intrusions. For example, PowerShell is a standard tool that's installed by default on many Windows systems and servers. PowerShell can be manipulated to conduct lots of different types of malicious activities though. Since these tools are installed by default in the operating system, it means that it's really easy for an attacker to obscure their malicious activities by making the detection of those activities more difficult by relying on internal PowerShell commands as opposed to downloading additional malicious code. As a cybersecurity professional, it is really important that you're aware of these types of techniques to ensure your system is well protected against them.